Is it on now?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Hey guys. So today is going to be a little bit different. I am interviewing my best friend Linda. But basically, I'm kind of trying to start a series where I get different perspectives on different mental illnesses and stuff like that, and I don't really feel right speaking on ones that aren't my own. Most of her focus today is going to be about anxiety, and while that is something I do struggle with, it's very different from the anxiety you get from bipolar to like clinical anxiety. They're different. So, anyways, so she's going to talk about her story, and I'm going to kind of interview her and ask her some questions and stuff like that. All right.
Yep.
So, there's a giant bug, and I'm going to die.
I'm trying to stay calm, but there is a roach right under my foot.
Oh my god, it's huge.
Okay, I'm just going to pretend
like
it doesn't exist.
It's like one of those big flying ones. Like, I need a shoe.
Hold on. Oh, okay, wait, the other one. We're good, we're good.
Crawled in the cement crack, so we're just going to...
Got a little spooked there.
All right. Well, that breaks the ice.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
all right. You want me to just tell them a little bit?
Yeah, so basically, to keep us on schedule, since my videos have been like 40 freaking minutes long, I'm writing stuff down a little bit more now.
Got some notes.
So basically, just introduce yourself and, tell them about your journey.
Okay, I'm Linda. I'm 20. I actually got diagnosed when I was a sophomore in high school. However, I've struggled with anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember. My mom took me to therapy when I was in like 2nd grade because I would wake up in the morning and just get sick every morning before school, and she didn't know why. And she was like, why is my kid sick every morning? And it's because I was having like anxiety stomach and I would just get sick. And then because I had anxiety, I didn't open up to my therapist, so I didn't get diagnosed. And then I just kind of went years thinking like I was just some freak of nature that I didn't know what was wrong with me. Until sophomore year of high school, when I started to really realize that it was getting worse. And I mentioned to my mom a couple of times about going to therapy, and she had finally agreed. So I started seeing a therapist. The beginning of my sophomore year, I was going 2 times a week to therapy, trying to figure out what the heck was going on with my emotions. So I ended up getting diagnosed with multiple things. I got diagnosed with anxiety, clinical anxiety and depression, and then PTSD. So, but the thing that makes my life the most difficult has always been, at first it was depression, and now it's mostly anxiety. They kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I'll struggle with one more than I struggle with the other.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that because most people that have anxiety have depression, and most people that have depression also have some anxiety, and so
they're so vastly
very hand in hand a lot of times.
Yeah, and so vastly different that it's so like which one is bothering you, but they're so contradicting to one another that it can feel like you're battling yourself a lot. But I will say that after getting the diagnosis, I tried several different medications. Some were not good for me. Some of them did not work for me. And I do understand, like, some of them work great for people. Sometimes it takes 7 tries for someone to find something that works for them. For me, I tried 2, and it was awful, and it did not work for me. And I tried 1, and it kind of worked. And then I didn't really like it, how it felt after a while. Because I was taking depression and anxiety medication. And then finally I opted out of that, and I decided I wanted to just do anxiety medication. So I did that for a while, and I mean a while, like for years. And then my senior year of high school, my junior year I ended up doing online school for a while because I needed a mental break. And then I went back my senior year, and I thought I could handle it. I was like, I'm great, it's my senior year.
Time we met.
This is when I met Sierra. I was like, yeah, like, I guess part of me was embarrassed because I'd taken a year off, and I wanted to come back and be like this new improved version of myself, and I wanted to put on this front like I was tough. And so I stopped taking my medicine, and I was like, I'm great, I'm fine. And for a while, I was okay. I thought I was handling it. And then I realized I hadn't been handling it, and I had just been ignoring it. And so eventually I got really, really, really unsettled. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but it just started to build and build. And thank God that we were friends at the time, because she saved me a lot of the time. I would like miss school constantly. Not because I didn't.
I wouldn't say I necessarily helped you with that.
Yeah.
I kind of encouraged you not to go to school.
It was very much one of those situations. But I just stopped going. And it's not like I was wanting to miss school. I wanted to do good in school. I wanted to get good. I've always been the type of person, like, I want to be a people pleaser. I want to make good grades. I want to do things. You know, I was really involved in my chorus. I did musical and show choir and all of these things.
And you're fucking smart. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, that about you.
I really prided myself on being a good student and being a good person. And I kind of lost that. I lost that about myself. I just, you know, I had great friends, but I wasn't appreciating them enough. I had good opportunities at school that I was too afraid to go to. I had, you know, classes I was falling behind in, but I just, every day the anxiety got worse because I knew I was going to come back to something more to do. So eventually I got back on my medication after fighting the urge to do that for such a long time. I was like, I have to. And I did, and then I graduated, barely. Those last couple of months, I really hammered it in. I had good grades when I graduated, but it was not easy. It was really hard. She helped me a lot with that too. A lot of long nights doing a lot of schoolwork, but we made that work. And then after I graduated, shortly after, like the literal next month after I graduated, I found out I was pregnant, and that was crazy. She was there when that happened too. Literally took the test, walked in, she thought I was playing a prank
in my
on
bathroom.
Yeah, it was wild. And she thought I was playing a prank on her, and because I was walked out making this face like. But
you know, like when you're teenagers and you have like pregnancy scares, it would always be like back and forth every few weeks. You'd have to like take a test because you know you're irresponsible teenagers.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like we would kind of play this joke with each other. Where like I would come out and be like,
yeah,
and then we'd be like bitch, shut up, you're playing. Like that's
yeah.
not, that didn't happen. And so when she came out and told me, I just automatically assumed it was a joke. I was like, no, you're not.
It was not a joke.
She's just like,
yeah, it was not a joke, dude.
I was like, oh shit.
It was a code, red, red, red. You know what I'm saying? And I would be lying if I said that my reaction was like this beautiful, oh my God, I'm so happy. Like, I've always, and don't get it twisted, I've always wanted to be a mom. Like, always. I knew that was going to be something that I did. I knew that I was going to have a child. I had been with the guy I was with for a long time. I had been joking around about it, like, but I was not prepared. I was not prepared. I wasn't ready. I wasn't trying. It was very much a shock, and it was very scary. And then I freaked out, and I once again had to stop taking my medication, because when you're pregnant, you have to talk to your doctor. And I was taking this medication that could have been harming this child, and I was like, I can't do that. Like, my whole world changed. That moment, it changed. And then I had that agonizing fear and realization that I had to go explain myself. For whatever reason, I thought I had to explain myself. You don't ever have to explain yourself, ever, unless you really, really, really do something wrong and hurt somebody. If you're not hurting somebody, don't explain yourself. But for some reason, I felt like me getting pregnant, I had to explain myself to everyone. And, you know, with my mom, she had me really young too. So I didn't want to repeat that process because she had tried so hard to convince me not to do that. So I was really disappointed in myself. I beat myself up about it for a while. And I tried to think of every way I could avoid telling my family face to face. I was like, I'm going to write them a postcard. I'm going to hit the road. Like, I will, like...
I forgot how we told your mom.
Well,
how did you tell her?
I was going to write my mom a note and put it under her pillow, and then go to Sierra's house for the weekend and hide. That's what I was going to do. But what ended up happening is I saw my mom, I started crying, and she was like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Well, because we were going to do the tampon thing.
Oh, I did that with Neil.
You did?
So
Okay,
my
'cause I know
cousin.
that was originally we were gonna do that with your mom.
Oh, but then I figured it would piss her off too much. I was like, I can't do that. With my cousin, I brought her tampons, and I was like, I'm not gonna need these anymore. You want them? It was, But with my mom, I saw her, I cried, and she was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, what's going on? And I just told her, and I was really vulnerable. And I think that going back, like, that was the best decision I made, because me and my mom really got on the same page, and she was like, wow, like, it's okay. And she was really supportive, and that meant a lot to me, because I know a lot of young girls don't get that. Even girls that are in their 20s and 30s, like, don't get that. Some people don't have that response.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone was happy. There were a lot of people in my family that were not happy. There's a lot of friends that I had that I lost. There's a lot of people that, like, did not like the situation. But I was really, really grateful that my mom wasn't like that with me. So, obviously I had a lot of anxiety about that. It was a crazy, wild adventure. And,
It's been a crazy couple of years.
Yeah. But ultimately, like, that was what I was going to do. I was going to have this kid. I had decided that, this was my child. I wanted to keep said child, and I made that decision. So, to sum up who I am a 20-year-old who has a 1.5-year-old, and I'm okay with that. And I also have anxiety and depression and PTSD, but I'm also a really awesome mom, and
Yeah, for sure.
and a good friend, and a daughter, and I'm a fiance, and I'm a lot of things that aren't my mental illness. And even though my mental illness does affect those things, my relationships and my this and that, it's still me, and it's a part of who I am, but it's not me. It's just something that I have.
Yeah.
So that's basically the summary of who I am. And Sierra's best friend.
Yeah, of course. And then what a beautiful thing that Maverick's here. I mean, honestly, I know it was scary in the beginning, but
Yeah.
he's such a big part of not just your life, but your family's life, my life. Just he's a wonderful kid.
He's a ball of sunshine.
Yeah.
He really is. He's my sunshine for sure.
So, on that note, what would you say a normal day looks like for you when it comes to your anxiety?
Whew. There are some days that I wake up and they're better than others. But I can't say, I would be lying if I said I wake up and I don't have any ever. Or I wake up sometimes and I don't have even a slightest bit of anxiety. I always wake up with anxiety. It's just the matter of how much and what it's about. So a normal day lately, I'd say the past couple of weeks, I have to be at work at 6 a.m. and I live 45 minutes away from that. It takes me about 30 minutes to get ready. Not because I have to do my makeup, but because I have to motivate myself to get out of bed. So sometimes even 45 minutes. I set alarms for an hour before I actually get out of my bed. And then I have 30 minutes where I get ready. And then I have alarms set for when I need to put my shoes on, and when I need to get my keys, and when I need to start my car, and when I need to leave my driveway. Because if I don't set those alarms, I won't do it.
Yeah, I feel like when you have anxiety, time just gets away from you.
Yes.
You can literally be freaking out in your head, and then look, and it's been an hour, and you're
Yes.
It feels like it's been 10 minutes.
It's like, wow, I've been, freaking out for no reason. And you have. There's always a reason, but you beat yourself up about it. You're like, man, I've just wasted an hour of my time, and now I have 5 minutes, and I have gotten nothing done. So most of my mornings look like no breakfast, hair not brushed sometimes, my face a little oily, I'm having panic attack already because I'm running late for work. I'm never really on time. I'm always about 5 minutes late, if not more. It's awful. So my mornings always start off with panic. And I've tried doing so many things in the past where I've woken up and tried to wake up early and do all this stuff. And the problem is that I'm not getting enough sleep because I have anxiety brain and it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So I'm going from not getting enough sleep. I'm getting 3 and 4 hours of sleep, waking up the next morning, spending an hour of my time laying in bed thinking of all the things that I still need to do, and then not doing them, and then doing all of them in 5 minutes so fast that I can't catch my breath, and then getting in my car, frantically driving, and I don't mean like going all over the road. Like, I'm a good driver. It's just like a lot of like, oh my God, I gotta go, and I just keep telling myself, it's like, it never stops, like, it's just constant voice, like, you have to do this, you have to be on time, you're gonna get fired, you're gonna get this, they're gonna be mad at you, you're gonna disappoint your team. And then, you know, I get to work, and the second I pull in, even though I'm running late, I can't get out of my car. Sometimes I have to take that minute to breathe, because I'm like, whoa, if I walk in right now, I'm gonna come in there and blow the place up. Like, I just need a second. And then I walk in, I work, I, you know, try to deal with, you know, maintaining the day-to-day stress of what a job is, you know, which, you know, obviously everybody has day-to-day stress with their job. But sometimes something that's so small, like my boss just corrected something that I did, and for most people they're like, you know, I can just fix it. But for me, it's, I just did something wrong, and now all of these eyes are on me to make it right, and if I don't make it right, and I don't do it with a smile on my face, and if I let them see that I'm just, you know, shaken up,
Yeah.
then I'm weak, and I don't deserve to be on this team, and I'm the weak link. And so then, you know, that's how my thought process starts to break down, and then, you know, it gets close to time to leave, and 2 hours before it's time to leave, I start getting my hopes up. I'm like, okay, it's almost over, it's almost over, it's almost over. And those last 2 hours go by so slow, and I want to just leave. Like, I just want to leave. I want to go home, I want to go home, I want to go home. Just constant in my head, like, gotta get in the car, gotta get home, gotta get your son, gotta, you know, make sure you have the house clean and dinner made, because, like, you can't let your son live in a, you know, dirty house, and you gotta feed him, and you gotta do this. And you got to come home and get your son with a smile on your face, because he doesn't know that you just had a really bad day at work where customers yelled at you, and, you know, your boss is disappointed with you being late, and your, you know, team members are, you know, trying to help you, and, you know, and obviously everyone's workday is different. I have so many people at my job that get it, and, like, they are so supportive if I'm sick or if I'm running behind because my kid had an issue, or, and they get it, and it's so nice. And of course, you know, there is corrective criticism. You know, there's like a difference between you mess everything up and, you know, hey, I noticed that you forgot to do this, could you mind doing it? But when you have anxiety, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like, oh my God, I made all of these mistakes.
I feel like sometimes it feels like a filter over what people like really say or what people really think about you.
Yeah, it always feels like there's some sort of thing in the back of their
like
head.
An inner monologue going
Yes.
on of like, so I think that's a big thing with therapy that like my therapist asks me all the time is like, is that really what they said, or is that how you felt?
Exactly.
And I feel like that's such a like
It's
empowering
true.
question, because there, you know, there are so many times that I sit back and like I try to like really think about what happened, and I'm like, maybe that's how I felt. And sometimes it really skews your reality of like what really happened, like your memories, like you feel
it starts to distort your reality
Yeah.
completely. You just start to think like, oh my God, did that really, like she said, did it really happen like that? And so whenever I tell people about my day, like even my fiance will catch me sometimes, I'll go on and I start going on these rants, and he's like, okay babe, like, and he tries to bring me back down. But a lot of times that's how my day looks. Like, everything is magnetized. You have to understand, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, it's so hard to explain, but everything that somebody says, you're gonna replay in your head until it's not what they said. And it's not that you want to, and you know deep down what they really said, and you might know what they meant, but it never feels like
it's
that.
like, I feel like a good example is like, it's kind of like when someone says like, this is a lot right now, I can't deal with this right now. And sometimes you take everything so personally that by the millionth time you've repeated it in your head, you're now telling someone, and they said that I was too much and they could no longer deal with me.
Exactly.
And that's not what they said.
Exactly.
But that's how you felt. That's how you interpreted it.
Exactly. And so a lot of the time, the way that I know that I'm getting to that point where I need to reevaluate and take myself back, it looks a lot like I start feeling my heart. First, it's my heart. My heart starts beating so fast that I feel so short of breath that it's like I've been holding my breath for an hour. And if I don't get my breath right now, I'm gonna pass out. And it starts off with that. And then my whole body just runs hot. And I mean, like, when I say hot, I mean, if even people will touch me and be like, you're getting really hot right now. And I can't, it's like an actual true thing that happens to me. I get sweaty.
Yeah, it's physiological.
I get hot. I start not being able to breathe. And then I start crying. And I don't want to cry. And it's even worse when I try to hold it in, because then it's like, and it just pours out. And then I get the neck pains, which are the worst. I have such bad anxiety that when I try to hold it back, I pull muscles in my neck all the time. Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah.
It's
kind of
awful.
like when you're fighting the urge to cry, so you're like,
Yeah.
don't be a little bitch. I'm in front of people.
Yeah. Hold it in 1 more minute. Just get to the bathroom and you can let it all out. Exactly like that. Like,
So do you feel like there's things that you can do, like boundary-wise, to prevent some of these things from happening?
absolutely.
'Cause I feel like you came a long way, especially
Yes.
recently.
Of course, it's never going to be perfect. There are times that I don't have that, thing in my brain like, okay, you need to calm down. But I have made a very conscious effort to put into play a couple of things that I've found that works for me. And it's taken a while to find a few things that have worked for me. So the first one is not overloading myself to begin with. That's the one that has been the hardest probably for me to do, is not allowing myself to put so much pressure to begin with that it's going to end up overwhelming me. So what I mean by that is, if I know that this next week I work 6 days that week, even though they're short shifts, it's 6 days that week, and I'm gonna get home and watch my son and do house stuff for those other days, I'm not going to make really crazy plans that weekend. I'm going to cut out times of that day where I'm going to do something for me, whether that's watching a movie with my fiance, whether that's writing in my journal. That's a big one. Writing in my journal, journaling it out so I can see my emotions, whatever
Yeah,
it
she's
takes.
one of those friends I was talking about in my last video. I was like, I have friends that are like writers. They write stuff down. She's one of my write stuff down friends.
I have to, because it doesn't make sense when it's up here. It only makes sense when it's on the paper. That's it. Like, if it's not in front of me, I can't see it. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. So that's a big one. I have to make time to evaluate myself and to read those emotions for me to be able to accept them, because otherwise I don't feel like they're part of me, and
Right.
I resent them, and then I hold them back, and then it hurts. And so I have to put them somewhere, even if it's not a permanent fix, even if it's just to put them on the paper to temporarily get them out of your head so that you can go back later, read them, and discuss them with somebody. So that's the thing. That's my number one thing, is making sure that you have a plan to have time for yourself and like de-stress, whatever that means for you, and not overwhelm yourself to begin with making other plans when you already know you're going to be journaling 7 days that week because you've got too much
kind
going
of,
on.
reminds me of this video I saw about a girl who had DID. And she was talking about how they were like, well, how do you hold yourself accountable when, like, you're kind of asleep at the wheel when some of your personalities take over? And she was like, I write my stuff down in a journal, and that's kind of the way that I communicate with my other personalities. And I know that's like a way different disorder, but I think it's really relatable when it comes to anything that you're struggling with, or even if you're perfectly mentally healthy, just like writing something down in a time when you're like in distress and going back and reading that and trying to reason with yourself and
With
be
a
like,
more
whoa,
rational
like,
state of mind.
Yeah, like it's like you're reading someone else's
Exactly.
You're reading someone else's story.
That's the only way I can make sense of my feelings, because I've always been told, you're such a good therapist. You're so easy to talk to, and you give such good advice.
Yeah.
And I've always played that role, but I can't do it for myself. I can't. So I have to put it separately from not up here. It has to be in front of me so that I can evaluate it, like looking at it and being like, what would I say to someone else that's going through this right now? And that's the only way it makes sense.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I know you were like really into like literature and stuff in high school, and it's like, you can read books and analyze other people's, like, well, this character did this, and this is how they felt, and this is what they should have done. But then when it's you, it's kind of like
it's all mushed together. Exactly.
So, like, what role do you feel like a support system plays in a person that's struggling with mental illness? Like, how much value do you place on that? Do you feel like it's more just you coming up with things to help yourself, or, you know, more so like people being there for you and whatnot?
I would love to say that I am strong and I fixed everything myself. Like, it's not realistic for me. And this could also be because I have a lot of codependency issues. But I've had to find a way to balance it, for sure. Having a support system is great when it's a good support system. When your support system is going to do a range of things. They're going to support you and be there for you and listen to you. But they're also going to hold you accountable, make sure that you know what you're doing at all times, and letting you know when you've stepped out of that boundary, stepped out of that line, you know, gotten to a point that you didn't need to get to. And
I think a lot of people struggle with like having yes friends. Like,
yes.
Friends that are just like, oh, like, I'm
it's
so
dangerous
sorry,
for
it's
me.
such a bad day. You did that. Well, wow, that's crazy, man. You should, you know, that's what you felt like you needed to do at the time. Then okay, and not telling you like, whoa, you did what? Like,
exactly.
That's not cool.
I need someone sometimes to tell me, hey, what you did wasn't in character for you. And I think it's because you're overwhelmed right now, and maybe you need to take a step back and take care of yourself for a minute, because it's starting to show in your behavior, and like, that's okay, and we love you still, and we forgive you, and we're here for you if you want to talk, but just remember, like, take care of yourself as well. So it's very important for me. It's played a huge role in me finding what works for me. Obviously, not everyone's going to be so supportive. So alongside this, I will say, having a support system is amazing, and it's so important. But it's also important to get out the people, or at least distance yourself the people who aren't going to help you to have that support, and to be there when you need them, and not be afraid to tell you when you're right, when you're wrong, and make sure that they're validating your feelings and being very compassionate about it, but in a way that's beneficial and not just sugarcoating your scenario.
So,
definitely.
When it comes to like being a friend and like expanding your support system, what do you feel like are beneficial things that people that don't really understand, or people like us go through as much, they could say, I don't know if I worded that like correctly, but like could say to someone that's struggling, and things that they shouldn't say, the things that can be defeating versus things that like are truly helpful? Because I think a lot of people, the biggest struggle is, it's not that they don't want to help, but they don't know what to say.
Yeah, they don't know how. It's a really tricky, very thin line. I will say that, and it's hard. It's hard. I've even been guilty sometimes of saying things that might not have been the right thing to say in that moment. Me personally, I can speak on what works for me. For me, when I'm having an anxiety attack, I need someone that's going to be calm. I have to have someone that's going to be calm. Because if I'm having anxiety and you're like, oh, well, like, what's going on? Like, come on, get it together. It's not going to make it any worse. Or it's not going to make it any better. It's going to make it so much worse. I'm going to start panicking, and that's when the crying is going to happen. I'm not going to be able to breathe, and you're going to have to drag me out of whatever establishment that we're in. So for me, I think that, like, a really good thing that works for me is when someone's very calm, and they're just like, hey, you know, do you need to take a minute? That is life-changing. When someone, because I don't want to have to ask. I don't want to have to ask to take that minute. I need someone else to be like, hey, I can tell you're a little overwhelmed. Do you need to take a minute? It means the world. Like, that minute is the most sacred minute ever. At that point in time, when someone says, hey, you know what, why don't you just go take a minute, breathe, I'll come over there and check on you.
Or I think, like, me and
Perfect.
you, when we go through, we have, like, we call it Code Red.
Yes.
So we have, like, a Code Red thing where, like, if we're together in a place, or even if we're not together, sometimes we do this through text.
Yes.
That bug is back again, which, by the way, is a little bit distracting. I'm just like, I want to kill it.
Oh,
but
it
then,
keeps
like,
moving away every time I watch it.
Well, it really wants to be a guest star. Anyway. But, like, we have this code red thing. We're like, we'll text each other if we're in a weird situation, like code red in all caps, and like we stop whatever we're doing. Like we have to go to the bathroom or like leave or walk outside or whatever, and that's like we call each other.
Yes.
We know that that's panic mode. And then if we're at a place together, this is also a great thing. Whereas like code red, we'll kind of like whisper it to each other. And that's how we know that one of us is going to come up with some weird excuse for why we have to go outside for a few minutes.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I spontaneously smoke cigarettes again, and we have to go outside right now. I left something in my car. We have to go outside. My mom wants to talk to you. We have to go outside. Like, she's calling and she wants to talk to you, and like, we know, because then you got to have this kind of understanding with your friend in the support system. Because if you don't, they're just going to be like, well, why does your mom need to talk to me?
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Exactly.
What did you leave in the car? We got everything. And you're just like, shut the fuck up. Go outside. Like, it's important. I'm about to blow. And it's really important to have that kind of, at least one person, and this can be like a family member, a friend, or your partner, whoever, that just kind of understands that, like, you're in emotional distress and you don't want to, like, make a huge scene and have to leave, but you need to go outside and have that minute to, like, breathe. Without everyone drawing attention to why you have suddenly left the room. Yes. And so when you kind of have that backup person, it's like you're out.
You're not alone in it.
Yeah, it's like I'm going to go help Linda find that thing that we're looking for. We'll just be a minute.
Exactly, exactly. So definitely making sure that you're allowing them the time that they need to get past that distress. And making sure that you're kind of, accompanying it with them, but don't be on top of them about it. Like, what's wrong? What's going on? Are you okay? Do we need to leave? Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Just be like, hey, do you need a minute? Okay, let's step outside. Let them breathe for a minute and let them kind of just start the conversation. You can just say, hey, what's going on? Are you good? You need a minute? Let them be willing to talk. Because sometimes some people don't want to immediately just talk about it, because then it's just going to make it worse. Some people want to just breathe and then discuss it later. That's it, so it really just depends on the person. I'm one of those people that I'm like, I need to breathe for a second, kind of give you a vague answer of what's going on so that when we step back into the situation, we can kind of work around it, but I'll really talk about it later because I don't want to get too much into it. The second thing that works for me when it comes to things that you can say is don't just be there for someone when they're sad. Don't just be there for someone when they're having a moment like that. I would say that when someone is doing really good and they're having a good day, or they're fighting through that anxiety, or they've been taking the time that they need and they've been doing, having healthy coping mechanisms, tell them you're proud of them. That is so important. Tell them you're proud of them. I'm really proud of the way that you handled things today. You're doing so good. Positive affirmations are so underrated. Like, can all of us just go around and be so positive all the time? It would be such a better place. Like,
yeah, and I think sometimes people are afraid to do that because they feel like it doesn't come off genuine, or that they're like giving you a gold star. But like
sometimes you need that gold star.
Sometimes getting up and just doing what you have to do and handling a situation in a different way than you would have before.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you need a fucking gold star for that. And
exactly.
I think me and you tell each other that we're proud of each other, like, daily almost.
Exactly. And that's helped so much. Like, even if someone's having a bad day, even if they're having a really, really, really anxious day, or a really depressed day, or they're really manic, or whatever is going on, just say, you know what? I'm proud of you for trying. I'm proud of you for, making an effort today. I'm proud of you for getting out of the bed. I'm proud of you for drinking that bottle of water. Anything and everything. Just tell people when you're proud of them, and tell them when you love them. And then the last and third thing when it comes to what works for me personally is setting boundaries. It's one of the most important. If a specific situation really, really gets to you, or a person gets to you, or you know that you're overwhelmed, or there's certain things that your anxiety can't handle, don't put yourself through it for the sake of making other people happy or comfortable, or to make yourself fit in. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You're just hurting your growth. You're hurting your growth. I'm not saying that you should hide from everything that scares you or run away from everything that might make you a little emotional. I'm saying make sure that you have a healthy balance. It's okay to go to your friend's funeral, but it's not okay to sit around for a week and just cry about it without reaching out for help, or without having a coping mechanism there. it's all about balance. Process your feelings, but don't dwell on them for too long unless you're making something out of it, talking about it, making a piece of art, writing about it. If you're not channeling it, even if you're feeling it, it's not letting itself release. So those were my 3 biggest ones that worked for me personally. Give them a shot if you want to. There's different ones you can try, but those are the 3 biggest ones for me.
That kind of leads into my next question. How do you feel, whether in a negative or a positive way, this can affect your relationships with your loved ones?
Some people don't understand, and that's okay. I've never expected everybody to understand. There are times where my family is like, hey, I haven't seen you in several weeks, or you don't talk to us anymore, or you haven't come to see us, you haven't responded to my messages, you haven't been active on social media. What's going on? Where have you been? And I just want to say, if that's you, and if you relate to anything of that sort, sometimes that can make you feel really bad. Sometimes that can make you feel really guilty, can make you feel like you're not, a good family member or a good fiance or a good, whatever the scenario is. But sometimes it's, like I said, all about balance. If you need a couple of days to yourself, if you need a couple of weeks to just be with yourself, that's okay. So for me, when it comes to relationships, I have had a lot of family and friends that I no longer associate with, or if I do, it's very rarely because they get to me in ways that aren't healthy, because they don't understand. And even if you talk to them, sometimes they still don't understand and they don't get it. And you have to respectfully be like, I just can't do that anymore, for your own sake, for your own sanity. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, some relationships grow really, really strong. Sierra and I are really, really close, and me and my fiance have gotten closer. Me and my mom have gotten ridiculously close, and our relationship has always been really bumpy. And I love her to pieces, but she knows it's true. She watches this. She knows we have not had smooth sailing in our relationship. But me being open about what's going on, instead of just saying, oh, sorry, I haven't seen you in a couple weeks, it's just been busy. That's not really going to help her to help me. It's not going to help me to get help. So as long as you're open with people, or willing to be open with people, some relationships can grow so strong, and it can be so, so helpful and so rewarding, and just to know that you have people that genuinely care and that are there no matter what. You can call them at 3 a.m. when you're having a mental breakdown, and they will answer and be like, baby girl, do I need to come over? I will bring you some ice cream and some Taco Bell, and we can sit it out and hash it right now. I will stay up all night with you and paint, whatever it is.
I think we've both had so many nights like that.
Of course, and sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes you just need to stay up for 24 hours and do some painting because you got too much going on to sleep. And sleeping is important. Very important. So make sure you have time for that. But sometimes you just have to have somebody that understands. And so relationships grow, but understand when you have growing relationships, you also are going to have some that don't grow so easily. Some of them, if you really care about them, you're going to have to work for. Some of them aren't going to be peaches and cream, and so much as just telling them your diagnosis and then being like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I personally don't make an effort to meet somebody and be like, hi, I'm Linda, I have anxiety and depression and PTSD, and you're going to have a great time trying to be my friend. That's not what I do.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't go into it being like, I am perfectly healthy and perfectly normal and I'm going to be 100% all the time. I don't do that. I'm very upfront with people. I'm like, yeah, you know what? After a couple times hanging out, if they ask me and I'm like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it today. I'm not going to tell them, I used to, but I used to just be like, oh, I'm sick or something came up. I'm trying to be better about that. I'm trying to be honest with people in my relationships. If I am having a lot of anxiety, I'm saying, hey, you know what? I'm having a lot of anxiety lately. I'm having a really low day today. I'm sorry I didn't get to your phone calls. I'm sorry I didn't answer. I was just having a crisis and I needed a moment for myself. And that can really, really benefit your relationships. Just being open and supporting and just being as genuinely transparent as you can. And making sure that the relationships that really do help you, you really make sure to keep that going. You know, don't push people away unless they're negative to your growth. That's what I would say. I would say if they're negative to your growth or they don't understand it, distance yourself. You can still love somebody from afar. You can still care for somebody from afar without sacrificing your mental health. And if someone loves you and they're close to you and they're helping you and doing all the things that are helping you, don't push them away. Let them care about you. And that's hard sometimes, but let them care about you. So that's what I would say about affecting relationships, for sure.
I think it's also like people would be really surprised to see how many people are cool with it and can be understanding, even if they don't relate 100%. Would be there for you if they were given the chance. And I think that's like the biggest fear that a lot of people have about coming forward about what they're struggling with, is that people would view them differently or not understand, or that it would drive somebody away. And like it does sometimes, but the right people
will always
stay. Yeah. And then a lot of times being really true to yourself and what you're going through brings people into your life that you didn't think would be in your life, like friends that you wouldn't have had.
I recently just reconnected with somebody, and we really bonded over our experiences with our mental health. And it was really crazy because I feel like not a lot of people are very transparent and see-through about it. And it was nice to like reconnect with somebody and not feel this pressure to pretend that like I'm perfect. And we hung out, and we both have anxiety, so we were like fidgeting and freaking out. But it became so natural after a minute that we were sitting in the car talking about our childhood trauma. It was great, like you know, which obviously isn't for everyone. But sometimes what I'm saying is if you're open, some people will grab onto that and be like, wow, this is so amazing. Someone understands me and they get me, and I have somebody that I can talk to. And then some people, if you're transparent, they're going to be scared. And every person has a right to feel what they want to feel. I'm never going to tell somebody that they are not allowed to feel scared or taken aback. But I just feel like it's really important to have an open mind.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
So when it comes to like being a parent, what struggles do you feel like you face that like other parents don't?
Ooh, okay. Well, every parent has stress, and every parent's tired all the time. And every parent has people in their ears about what they need to do, and there's so many things that every parent has. But what I don't think, people realize is parents that bug is back. Sorry,
it keeps coming back, and then like as soon as we see it and try to kill it, it like runs.
Sorry, y'all. I'm really scared of roaches and water bugs.
It's a really big like water bug type fly one too. It's like yay big. So like when it comes over here, it's like a freaking wild animal has entered the chat.
But yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, so parenthood. When you have anxiety and you have all of that normal stress already from being a parent, lack of sleep, people in your ears, and all that stuff, they don't realize you're already in your own head about all that stuff. From the moment that I had my son, I mean the second, and they laid him on my chest, I was like, oh my God, I have such a large responsibility, and I don't want to fuck this up. Like, I was like, I have got to get my shit together. And like, everyone feels that to an extent, but when you have anxiety, you are hyper aware. So I was like, holy shit, like, someone get this kid, I gotta go get a better job. I was just wired on this adrenaline rush and this, anxiety that I have an entire human being, and I am responsible for making them a good human being. And like, I have to make sure that they're safe and that they're taken care of and that they're loved and that, they can come to me if they have issues or if they feel a certain type of way. And so you're already in your head so much about it. And so when you have people telling you, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, you should feel this way, you should, respond in this direction, or, whatever the case is, you are going to eat yourself alive. And I did. I struggled with postpartum depression, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but there is postpartum like PTSD anxiety as well. And my anxiety got way worse after I had my son. I had such scary thoughts. Like, I would just be walking down the stairs and I'm like, what happens if I drop my son and fall down the stairs right now? Or I'd be driving in the car and I'm like, what happens if I get hit right now? What happens if I drive off the road? What happens if I fall asleep and like we both die? What, like really dark thoughts that not a lot of people are going to talk about, but I'm trying to be so transparent about it because of course I'm not going to go and drive off the road. I don't want to. That's why my brain is like reminding me, hey, you don't want to do that because that's scary and you love this child, and like just wanted to put that in your brain. And it's really, really terrible to have these constant thoughts of like these terrible scenarios of what could happen if this and what could happen if that. And it's so strong that it follows you in your sleep. You have nightmares, you wake up, you're exhausted, you have a screaming kid, and you get so overwhelmed because you're up all night with a screaming kid and you're thinking about all the terrible things that this world has and how you want to just shield this child from it. Like, you don't want them to see what's going on in your brain. And that's the scariest part, I think, is, you know, what if my kid has these things in his head at some point, you know, and I need to make sure that I'm good so that he can be good, so I can help him, so I can take care of him. And that's the scariest part, is knowing that you're going to be able to take care of that if that happens. And it's terrifying, like, knowing that you are responsible for someone else's, not only health, like physically, but mentally and emotionally, and you're going to grow them up into whoever they choose to be and whoever you know, show them, you know, to be, and all these things that go into what makes a person themselves. And, you know, the last thing you need is people in your head telling you, you know, maybe you shouldn't have done that. You know, maybe you should spank him. You know, maybe you shouldn't spank him. Maybe you should take him out. Like, I raise my kid a specific way, and most people don't like it. I grew up in the South. There are some strong opinions down here about what discipline is. And for me not to, you know, discipline my kid the way that most people do, it's really hard to stand my ground. They're like, oh, he's going to grow up and be a wuss. He's going to grow up and he's going to be fluffy. Like, he's not going to, you know, very much toxic masculinity. Like, how is he going to be a man? Like,
well, you just care about your kid's emotions.
Exactly. I want my kid to be emotionally well. Like, that's what I want. I don't want my kid to be scared of me. I don't want my kid to, you know, not feel like he can come to me. Look, that's what I'm saying. Like, I 100%. Might have anxiety and I might have depression, and there might be days where I'm like, hey, fiance of mine, his name is Dion, by the way, do you want to watch him for 45 minutes so I can go maybe like take a shower, take a bath, go on a jog, paint something, write something, rip my hair out, whatever I want to do for the next 45 minutes, because I'm sad right now and I'm a little overwhelmed and I don't want to cry while holding this child because he can sense that I'm sad and I don't want him to feel that. And so that's a big part of it. And I think that there are a lot of misconceptions about what it's like to be, you know, have a mental illness and be a parent. Like, you can still be a really, really good parent. Like, I mean, you can be a bomb parent. You can do all the stuff that you got to do and get it done, and your kid will love you and be happy and healthy, and you can do all of that and go to the room at night and cry yourself to sleep and get up the next morning and be a boss the next day. Like, you can wake up and be like, I made a 5-star breakfast, and you know, your face is clean, I gave you a bath, we're going out today, we're gonna go, you know, to the park. Like, you can do all of that stuff and come home and still realize, like, I am also a person. I am a person that needs to care for myself a little bit more than I have been. I need to have that me time, because when you're a parent, you're not just a parent. You are also your own human. You're your own soul. You have your own thoughts and feelings and emotions. And when you're focused so much on making this child happy and healthy, sometimes you can forget about yourself. And you need to remember who you are and remember what you need. And that's just what it is. Like, sometimes I have to remind myself to take care of myself. And that's you know, it's hard. It's hard to remember to, like, simple things like, have you showered today? Did you maybe eat anything? Like, no, didn't eat breakfast or lunch. Your kid ate. You didn't feed yourself. You know, did you do that laundry? Do you have work clothes for tomorrow? Have you done anything that makes you happy? Did you write today? Did you do art? Did you sing a song? Did you listen to your favorite music? Did you talk to your friend? Did you call your mom and see how she was doing? You know, you have to remind yourself so much more often when you have a mental illness to take care of yourself and to reach out and to be a human being, because sometimes that all gets lost because you have so much pressure on yourself to do all of these other things.
Right.
But that doesn't make you any less of a parent, and it doesn't make you any less of a person. It just makes you a person that needs to be reminded or remind themselves and adjust and do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that you're not doing things right. It doesn't mean that you're failing, and it doesn't mean that you've messed everything up. Like, no, you need some time for yourself, and that's okay.
And you got to be patient with yourself.
You have to be patient with yourself, and you have to forgive yourself too. If you have a bad day and you wake up and your kid, like lately, my kid is hitting his terrible twos a little early. Today, he punched me twice.
He did.
He hit me with his shoe. He flung himself to the floor 8 times and then got mad when I caught him before he hit the concrete. Like, it was a day. And you know what? Yeah, I might have been a little upset. I might have looked at him and been like, wow, you're being real mean to me right now. And I might have made the face like this a little bit too many times. But I still love him. I still cuddled him. I still fed him all 3 meals. I still snuggled him and loved him and kissed him and hugged him and told him he was beautifully made and that he was the sunshine of my life. And that's okay. And tomorrow I'll wake up and I'll probably get hit 5 more times and I'll still love him. And you know what? I might go to bed tonight and cry. I pulled a back muscle today. I don't know when that happened. It might have been when I was chasing him around. But hey, you know what? He's alive. He's healthy. And he's still smiling. So like,
that's all that matters.
That's all that matters. As long as you're okay and your child is okay and you have not hurt anybody, it was a good day. It was a good day.
So I think we went over most of our questions. I mean, is there anything else that you want to go over, or anything that you would really say to people that are struggling out there?
I think that's about it for topics. I will make a closing statement though.
Yeah.
If you are somebody who is struggling with anxiety, depression, PTSD, whatever it is, even if it's any kind of other mental illness, I know that there's so many different ones on the spectrum. I just want to say, if you're going through something, a couple of things. One, don't beat yourself up for having a bad day. We all have bad days. We have days where our mental illness controls our day. And it happens, you know, it's something, you know, you can do so well for so many months and then have that one day where you go a little bit off the wire, and you might have a day where you stay inside and you cry because you're scared of what's outside. You might have days where, you know, like you're manic and you're trying to get a grasp of it, and you clean your whole house for 5 hours and you're like, oh my God, where did my day go? There might be days where you sleep in your bed all day and you're crying and you have to get someone else to watch your kid because you need an emotional break. And it's okay to have days like that. Just make sure that you're, you know, balancing it out. The second thing that I would say is that if you're struggling right now, don't be afraid to reach out for help. I mean, a friend, a family member, a therapist. I know that there's a lot of talk about therapy. Some people love it, some people hate it. There are strong opinions. I was skeptical after going in 2nd grade, and I know that sounds crazy because I was like 7, all right? But after that, I was like, no, therapists don't really care. They don't care. They didn't want to know about anything. And when I met my other therapist, Dana, you know who you are. When I met Dana,
Shout out Dana.
Shout out Dana.
Shout out Kylie.
She literally saved my life. Like, that woman is an angel, y'all. Like, I love her, and I still think about things that she's told me every single day. I no longer see her, because your girl lost her insurance. I'm working on it. And and even if I had the insurance I had, she moved, and so she doesn't take my insurance anymore. But I love that woman. If you need to get therapy, or you need to get help, or you need a psychiatrist, or you think you need medication, or you don't want to get medication, or you want to take a natural route, or you want to, you know, just have a good support system, or you just want to go to therapy to learn about coping mechanisms. Whatever decision that you make is your decision. and you just got to make the first move. Exactly. As long as you're moving forward, it doesn't matter in what direction. That's the way I see it. As long as you're moving to greater things, it doesn't matter which path you take. Just don't go backwards. Just try not to go backwards. And if you fall and you stumble a little bit, if you take 2 little steps back because you got scared of something in front of you, just remember tomorrow, make those 2 steps back. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. You're not way back where you started. It's okay to step back, to stumble from time to time. As long as you get back up and you dust that off and you keep going. You just got to make the effort, and you just got to, hold yourself accountable. And then the last thing is that you got to know that people love and care about you no matter what. When you're having bad days, it doesn't make people not love you. They might be a little, they might have, moments where they're like, okay, what can I do? They might be at a loss too, just like you get at a loss. If you're having a day where you're like, I don't know how else to fix this, they might get there too. And just remember that, even though they're mentally normal or they're, mentally well, they can still be overwhelmed as well. They can still have moments where they're like, whoa, okay. Like,
everybody's human.
Everyone's human. And I think that a lot of the times, I'm really guilty of this with my fiance. I expect him to just fix me sometimes. Like, just fix it. Like, I need you to help me help myself because I am broken and I need you to fix me. And I've been trying all day and I can't breathe and I could have a heart attack. And sometimes he looks at me and he has everything that he needs to say and he'll cuddle me and it's a great night. And then sometimes we've been up for 4 hours talking and I'm still wired and he has to be up for work 2 hours later and he's like, babe, I love you.
But I hate you right now.
But like, you need to go to the fuck to sleep. Like, go to sleep, please. I am dying for some sleep. We can resume this conversation tomorrow. I don't love you any less. Just like, please. Please, like, I have nothing left in me. And like, that's okay too. Just remember, we're all humans, just floating around in this world, or, well, not really floating, but walking around this world, just trying to make things happen, trying to get to where we want to be. And, as long as you're moving forward, give yourself a pat on the back. I want everyone that's watching right now, pat themselves on their back because it's hard. It is hard. It's a journey.
You're not always, gonna start and then immediately be at the end of that.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
why it's a journey. It's the ways you gotta go.
Up and down, sideways, all over the place. But yeah, we've been out here for an hour.
I think our boyfriends hate our fucking
Video
guts.
is supposed to be 20 to 30 minutes.
It's an hour.
It's an hour. If only we could cut it into 2 sections.
We can just put the little rabbit speed on where we sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks and then
Anyways.
we're good.
Sorry, you guys. For anyone who watches, thank you. Love you. You're the best for supporting my best friend. Thank you so much.
Give me a hug. I'm really proud of you, dude.
Thank you. I'm proud of you.
I mean it.
I am too.
I know, it was really hard.
Literally, y'all didn't see this, but 5 seconds before this camera rolled, I was freaking out. I was losing it.
It's weird at first. It's weird.
It was weird. But I'm glad that I could get, something out there. I know that it's for, something good, and I'm really passionate about it. So I'm proud of myself too. Pat on the back. Pat on the back. But yeah, so thank you guys for listening to my story and hearing me out, and thank you for letting me
I'm gonna do the lame YouTuber
have a platform.
thing. Subscribe to my channel.
Yes, please subscribe to her channel.
All right, thanks guys.